I always thought life gave you a few key moments, the kind that shape everything that comes after. For me, one of those moments came in a beige envelope. Nothing special about it. No bold letters. No dramatic wax seal. Just my name, handwritten in the corner, and a return address from someone I hadn't thought about in years. Tanner Whitmore. Now that might not mean anything to you. But to me, Tanner was a time capsule. He was my best friend in college, roommate, business partner in 2 failed startups, and co-witness to every questionable decision we made in our 20s. The kind of guy who'd order shots 5 minutes after telling you he was cutting back. We lost touch after graduation. Life did what life does, drew chalk lines between people, and then filled the gaps with jobs, marriages, and mortgages. So yeah, when I saw his name on that envelope, I paused. Then I opened it. Inside was an invitation, a weekend getaway at his new place. Just a few of the old crew, catching up, off the grid. You need this, brother. Scribbled in the margin like he was still passing me notes in Econ 302. I didn't need this, but I needed something. My wife, Brooke, thought it was a great idea. You've been so tense lately, she said, brushing her hand across my shoulder one morning while sipping her green smoothie. Go. See the guys. Clear your head. The way she said it was casual, almost too casual, but I didn't question it. I chalked it up to support. She always had a way of smiling just enough to disarm my suspicions. Are you sure you're okay holding down the fort? I asked. She waved me off. Please. It's just me and Netflix this weekend. We'll survive. So I packed my bag. Left Friday morning with a travel mug full of black coffee and a Spotify playlist full of songs that used to mean something. Tanner's place was upstate. One of those old lake houses that had been gutted and reborn into something that belonged in a modern architecture magazine. Clean lines, big windows, silence that echoed. The other guys were already there. Rob, Dante, even Chris, who used to swear off social events like they were flu season. It was nice. Too nice. Tanner was waiting on the porch, arms spread like I was the final piece in a puzzle. Logan, he shouted. Still alive, man? We hugged, laughed, clapped backs like real men pretending we didn't miss each other. That first night was all beer and bonfires, stories retold like gospel, and new ones dropped in like grenades. The stars were sharp, the lake was glass, and for a moment, it felt like nothing had changed. But something had. I couldn't quite name it. Maybe it was the way Tanner looked at me a beat too long, or how Chris kept checking his phone like he was waiting for news. Or maybe it was the one question that none of them asked. How's Brooke? Not a single guy brought her up. And that was the first crack in the glass. We spent Saturday morning on the lake. Tanner had a couple of jet skis, and Rob insisted on doing donuts until he nearly flipped into a flock of ducks. The laughter came easy. Too easy. The kind of laughter that feels like a disguise. And I wore mine like armor. By noon, the beers were cracked. Music playing from a Bluetooth speaker. Dante grilled steaks like he had something to prove. For a few hours, it felt like I'd stepped out of my own life and into someone else's summer. You and Brooke still going strong? Chris asked suddenly. I blinked. There it was. The question that should have come up the night before. Delivered too late, too careful. Yeah, I said casually. We're good. Dante glanced over, flipping a steak with a little too much force. She didn't come with you? I laughed. Nah. Someone's got to hold down the couch and binge reality shows. Everyone chuckled. But the silence after dragged a little longer than it should have. Tanner broke it. You trust her? It was the way he said it. Not joking. Not curious. Just testing. I looked at him, eyebrow raised. I married her, didn't I? He nodded, eyes on the fire. Right. Just asking. I took a long sip from my beer. That was Tanner. Always blunt, always pushing. But still, it sat wrong in my chest. Like the smoke was going in reverse, curling into my lungs. Later that night, after the others went inside to play poker, I stayed back, watching the flames shrink and curl in the pit. It was cold by then, the kind of cold that makes you forget it's still summer somewhere. Tanner came back out with 2 glasses of bourbon. Old times, he said, handing me one. Cheers. We drank in silence. Can I ask you something? He said eventually. You're gonna anyway. He smiled. You and Brooke. You guys still close. There it was again. That awkward hesitation before the word close, like he didn't know how to ask what he really wanted to. I stared into the glass. We're married. Marriage isn't a sprint. It's more like limping a marathon with your shoelaces tied together. He laughed, Fair. I didn't ask him why he was asking. I should have. But I didn't want to look too hard at the cracks. Not yet. He clinked his glass against mine. You've always been solid, Logan. Loyal. That's rare. I nodded slowly. Yeah, well, loyalty doesn't mean blind. That got a reaction. Just a flicker in his eyes. Then silence. Later, when I finally walked inside, I caught the tail end of a conversation. Just Chris saying, but he doesn't know yet. Then dead silence when they saw me. I smiled. I missed something? Rob fumbled a card, muttering, just talking shop. I let it slide. But that was the moment I knew. They were hiding something. And it had my name on it. The thing about silence is it doesn't lie. It doesn't stutter. Doesn't spin. It just sits there quiet, heavy, and loud as hell in your gut. That night, when I walked into the living room and heard Chris say, but he doesn't know yet, I knew the silence that followed wasn't innocent. It was loaded. I didn't sleep much. Just stared at the ceiling fan spinning in slow, lazy circles, the bourbon sitting like a brick in my stomach. Next morning, the house smelled like bacon and secrets. The guys were in the kitchen, laughing too hard, too loud. Like a bad cover band trying to play normal. Tanner handed me a coffee. Rough night? Something like that. The cup was hot, but I felt cold. We sat on the porch again, just the two of us. The lake was calm. Too calm. Like it knew something was about to erupt beneath the surface. And then Tanner said it. Look, man. I need to tell you something. I didn't answer. Just stared at him. It's about Brooke. There it was. The sentence that drops your whole world off a cliff without even bothering to scream on the way down. I didn't want to be the one, he said, rubbing the back of his neck like it could scrub the guilt off. But someone had to. I stayed silent. Because when the avalanche starts, you don't outrun it. You brace. He glanced at me. She's been seeing someone. For a while. My heart didn't break. It shifted. Dropped. Like someone pulled the floor out from under it and let it hit cement. Who? I asked, calm. Too calm. He hesitated. Then he said a name. And it wasn't just a name. It was a punchline. Chris. I looked through the porch screen and saw him inside, smiling like he didn't just steal half my life. I found out 2 months ago, Tanner said. She came to one of our meetups. Chris brought her. Said it was just friends, but you don't look at a friend like that. I didn't move. I didn't speak. You have to believe me, man. I didn't know how to tell you. But you deserve to know. And if you ask him, he won't deny it. He can't. The coffee cup in my hand didn't shake. I took a breath. A slow, full inhale that felt like dragging air through broken glass. Then I stood up, walked back inside, and looked Chris in the eye. He froze. Smile fading. Poker face cracking. I didn't yell. Didn't curse. I just asked, how long? Chris looked at the others like someone might step in and save him. No one moved. He swallowed. 6 months. 6 months. I nodded once. Then twice. Like I was filing away a mental receipt. Why? I asked. Brooke said she felt alone, he said, eyes down. Like you weren't there. Emotionally. I laughed. That same laugh you give when the movie ends in a twist so ridiculous, all you can do is clap at the absurdity. She felt alone. I repeated. Yeah, Chris whispered. I didn't mean to hurt you, Logan. I just... You did hurt me, I cut in. Intentionally. Repeatedly. And you looked me in the eye every time. We talked like you weren't the guy stabbing me through the back of my ribs. He didn't respond. Tanner tried to speak, but I raised a hand. No. I'm good. I walked out the front door and left the lies behind me on the porch. But I wasn't done. Not even close. I drove home in silence. No music. No calls. Just the hum of the tires and the occasional creak of the steering wheel as I gripped it tighter than necessary. It was a long drive, but I didn't feel the hours. My mind was busy replaying scenes I hadn't realized were chapters in a different book entirely. A look Brooke gave me when she thought I wasn't watching. The sudden hang-ups when I walked into the room. That one time Chris canceled our poker night and she left the house 30 minutes later wearing that black top she swore was too dressy for errands. Yeah. Funny how the puzzle only makes sense once you stop pretending the pieces fit. When I got home, the place felt like a movie set after the credits roll. Still, quiet, fake. Brooke wasn't there yet. I walked through the house and every room had a voice. The living room said she laughed with someone else here. The kitchen whispered he probably sat in that chair. Even the bedroom dared me to pull the sheets back and count the lies tangled in the fabric. I didn't rage. Didn't break anything. I just sat down at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. Step 1. Stop feeling. Start thinking. I've always been the kind of man who plays the long game. I don't bluff unless I already know your hand. And I sure as hell don't move until I've mapped out the entire board. So I mapped it. First, I made a list. Chris, Brooke, our mutual friends, my lawyer, and the burner phone I bought 2 months ago, back when suspicion first started gnawing at me. I wasn't proud of that. I had told myself I was being paranoid when I stashed that phone in the garage behind the old paint cans. But something in me must have known. Something in me was already preparing for war. Brooke walked in around 5:40. Her keys hit the counter with the same rhythm they always did, 2 clinks, soft shuffle. I didn't look up. She didn't either. Hey babe, she said, casual. Effortless. You're back early. That made me smile, but not the warm kind. The kind that feels sharp in the corners. Yep. Good time. I closed the laptop and looked at her. Really looked at her. She had a speck of lip gloss smudged at the edge of her mouth. Her eyes were tired, but her voice was upbeat. Almost rehearsed. She didn't know I knew. Not yet. Yeah, I said. It was good. Cleansing, you could say. She raised an eyebrow, but didn't press. That's the thing about guilt. It makes people wary of questions they don't want answers to. I stood up, kissed her on the cheek. Dinner. You're offering to cook? She said with a grin. Sure. Why not? While she went upstairs to change, I ordered her favorite sushi and poured us wine like a man too dumb to know he's being played. Except I wasn't dumb. I was loading the gun. Not a real one. Don't worry. I'm not a violence guy. That's amateur hour. No. I prefer the kind of revenge that makes people sit with what they've done. The kind that changes their definition of peaceful sleep. Over dinner, I asked her about her day. She lied like a pro. Oh, the usual, she said, sipping wine. Emails, meetings, a long lunch with Karen. She's going through it with her husband. I nodded. Per guy. Must be awful when someone you trust turns out to be sleeping with your friend. She froze. Just half a second. A blink. But I caught it. And I let it go. She smiled again, but it cracked at the edges. You okay? She asked. Never better. The next morning, she left early. Claimed she had to prep for a big presentation. I waited 30 minutes. Then grabbed my keys and drove across town to an office I hadn't stepped into in 6 months. My lawyer, Ethan Graves. He's the type of man who wears 3-piece suits like he was born in them. No small talk. Just results. You sure you want to do this? He asked, flipping through the file I handed him. Inside, printed text from Brooke to Chris. GPS records from the burner phone I'd planted in her car last month. Photos, nothing graphic, just enough for suggestion. A time-stamped receipt for a hotel room paid for by Chris's Venmo. I'm sure, I said. He gave a curt nod. All right. Do you want the nuclear route or the gentleman's departure? I leaned back. Let's start as a gentleman. But have the nukes ready. Ethan smiled. Smart. Over the next few days, I played my role perfectly. Loving husband. Distracted. Maybe a little forgetful. The man who didn't know his entire foundation had already been burned and rebuilt on betrayal. Brooke even started being sweeter. Like her guilt was peeking through, begging to be soothed. That's the thing about people who cheat. They often give you flowers while they're still covered in dirt from digging your grave. What she didn't know was that I'd already sent Chris a letter. Anonymous return address. No threats. Just a single printed screenshot of one of their messages, him telling her, I don't care if he finds out anymore. Let him walk. I want you. Taped to the bottom. A note. He knows. But you'll never know when he's coming for you. Sleep tight. People like Chris? They unravel fast. No loyalty. No spine. I knew he'd panic. And that's what I wanted. I wasn't going to scream. Or cry. Or plead. I was going to let them both twist. Every glance over their shoulder. Every moment of doubt. Every voicemail from a blocked number. That was the beginning of the undoing. And trust me, I was just getting started. I once read that you don't destroy a house by knocking it down. You remove the nails, one by one, until the whole thing collapses under its own weight. That's what I was doing. Removing nails. Carefully. Deliberately. And watching the structure shudder, inch by inch. 3 days after I mailed the letter to Chris, I noticed the first tremor. Brooke was in the kitchen, scrolling her phone, when she suddenly froze mid-swipe. Her face paled. She stared at the screen for a few seconds, then quietly locked it and shoved it into the fruit bowl like it had turned radioactive. I didn't say a word. She poured herself a glass of water, hands shaking slightly. You all right? I asked from the hallway, pretending to be more focused on tying my shoes than studying her. She jumped, then laughed, too loud, too fast. Yeah, just work stuff. Work stuff. The last refuge of the guilty. I let her sit in that lie like it was a hot bath. Comfortable at first, then scalding. By the end of the week, she was a nervous wreck, jumping at every notification, glancing out the window like she expected the truth to walk up the driveway wearing a badge and a disappointed frown. Chris, apparently, wasn't doing much better. Mutual friends started calling me old friends who didn't know about the affair. Just casual check-ins laced with concern. Hey, man. Weird question. Have you talked to Chris lately? He's acting off. How so? I don't know, paranoid. Kept asking if I gotten any weird mail. Said someone might be watching him. I assured them I hadn't heard a thing. Sympathized. Even offered to reach out to Chris myself, like a good friend should. I didn't. Instead, I sent him another message. This one wasn't anonymous. I wanted him to feel it. It was a photo of his car, parked outside Brooks' gym, time-stamped, with the caption, "You shouldn't have parked under a security camera. Amateurs." I didn't need to do it. I already had enough proof. But fear? Fear makes a man unpredictable. The next night, I saw it happen in real time. Brooke came home late, her makeup slightly smudged, her smile strained. She kissed me on the cheek, more habit than warmth, and muttered something about traffic. I made dinner, I said. Your favorite. Chicken piccata. She looked surprised. Maybe even touched. Or maybe just suspicious. We ate mostly in silence. I could see her trying to act normal, asking about my day, laughing at the right parts. I matched her, beat for beat, until I said, Chris called me today. Her fork stopped halfway to her mouth. Oh, yeah. Said he wanted to get lunch sometime soon. I watched her throat tighten as she swallowed. You should. It's been a while. I nodded. He seemed nervous. She shrugged. He's always been high-strung. I smiled. Guess I never noticed until now. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was charged, like we both knew a storm was coming but weren't sure who brought the lightning. That night, she didn't touch her phone, didn't text, didn't smile. Just lay beside me, eyes open in the dark, her breathing shallow. I pretended to sleep, but I was awake, planning. The next morning, I did something drastic. I called her boss. Not to get her fired. No, nothing that loud. Just a quick, polite conversation under the guise of something routine. A question about a work event she'd claimed to attend 2 weeks ago. Oh, she wasn't at that one, her boss said casually. She took personal leave that day. Thought she mentioned it. She must have forgotten, I said. Thanks for clearing that up. Click. Another nail removed. I knew where she was that day. I had the GPS logs to prove it. A motel 30 minutes from her office. Funny how lies look so casual on a calendar. Just a doctor's appointment. Just dinner with a friend. No? Now they looked like confessions. That weekend, I hosted a barbecue. Friends, neighbors, even a few coworkers. I made ribs. Brooke made her famous cucumber salad. We looked like a couple straight out of a lifestyle magazine. Polished, coordinated, perfect. Chris didn't show. His name was on the invite, but he didn't show. Instead, he sent a text an hour before. Something came up. Sorry. I showed it to Brooke. She stared at it too long. After the party, she got drunk. Not tipsy. Drunk. She stood on the porch with a glass of wine, staring at the stars like they might forgive her. I feel like I'm slipping, she mumbled. I stepped beside her. Slipping from what? She didn't answer. Just whispered, Do you ever think about starting over? Every day, I said. She didn't look at me. Just sipped her wine and nodded like she'd heard something in my voice that scared her. 2 days later, I received a call. Blocked number. Male voice. Breathless. You win, he said. Okay. You win. Just tell me what you want. Money? A confession? What? Who is this? I asked. You know who it is. Just stop, man. Please. Click. And with that, the coward confirmed himself. Chris was crumbling. And Brooke? Well, she wasn't far behind. The house was quiet now. Not the peaceful kind. The waiting kind. Like the whole place knew something was coming. Like it was holding its breath. And soon enough, it was going to exhale. 3 days after Chris's shaky call, Brooke came home early. That alone was odd. She hadn't come home early since Book Club Thursdays became a regular thing on her calendar. Spoiler, no one reads books that fast, and Rachel from work doesn't exist. I checked. But that night, she walked in around 6, hair wet like she'd just showered the guild off, and carrying takeout from that overpriced Thai place I used to surprise her with back when we still said, "I missed you," and meant it. She smiled. Tight. Like she was testing the strength of her own face. "I thought we could eat in tonight," she said. "Just you and me." I gave her a curious look. "What's the occasion?" She sat the bag down, avoiding eye contact. I don't know. I feel like we've been distant lately." Distant? That word again. Like it was some accidental drift instead of a choice she'd made over and over again with another man. Still, I played along. "Sure," I said. "Let me get some plates." Dinner was awkward in the way only two people lying to each other can make it. She asked about my week. I told her about a non-existent project at work. She nodded like she cared. Then, halfway through her pad CEW, she set her fork down and said, "Logan, is there something you're not telling me?" Now that caught my attention. I met her eyes. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," she said, clearly lying. "You've just been different lately. Quiet. Watching me. Like you know something but you're waiting for me to say it first." I shrugged. "I could ask you the same thing." That landed like a punch. She blinked, took a sip of water to buy time, then tried to smile. "Okay. You're scaring me now." I smiled back. "Just being honest." She didn't eat much after that. Neither did I. That night, I checked the tracker in her car. She had been to the same hotel 2 nights ago. Room 412. Chris's car was parked outside for exactly 92 minutes. Funny what you can learn when you have a friend at the DMV and access to a traffic cam database. Turns out betrayal leaves a breadcrumb trail, receipts, parking validation, even hotel Wi-Fi logins. And I had every crumb cataloged. The next morning, I sent Brooke an email. From an anonymous account. Subject line, "How many lies fit into a marriage?" Attached were 3 things. A photo of her and Chris leaving room 412. A screenshot of a message she sent him the same night. "I wish I could just leave and start over with you." A single sentence. "You have 48 hours to tell me everything, or I tell you." I didn't send it from my laptop. I sent it from the library downtown after logging in through a VPN routed through 3 different countries. Because that's what this was now. Warfare. By dinner, she was spiraling. She barely spoke. Dropped her wine glass when I asked if she'd been stressed lately. "I'm fine," she said, too fast. "Just tired. Maybe take a break from your book club," I said. She flinched. "Dead giveaway." "You're mad at me," she said, her voice suddenly sharp. "You're punishing me for something. I can feel it." I leaned forward. "Should I be?" Her mouth opened, then closed. She had no answer. Just silence. I let it hang there like fog. She didn't sleep that night. I could hear her pacing the hallway, whispering into her phone, then deleting texts. She thought I didn't notice. She thought the soft glow of her screen beneath the door went unseen. But I saw everything. I planned for this. I wanted the paranoia, the doubt, the erosion of her lies under their own weight. Let her unravel herself. Let her become the architect of her own collapse. The next day, she didn't go to work. I found her sitting on the floor of our bedroom, back against the wall, holding one of our wedding photos. The one where she's smiling at me like I'd hung the moon and she was lucky just to borrow its light. It looked like a prop now, like a stage set left behind after the audience went home. "Logan," she said softly, "we need to talk." I sat down on the edge of the bed. Calm. Collected. "I've made mistakes," she began. Things got confusing. I didn't know how to stop it. I said nothing. She kept going. Like a faucet that had rusted shut for months, now suddenly broken open. I didn't plan for it to go that far. I thought it would just be harmless. A distraction. I tilted my head. "You mean Chris?" She choked on the name. "You knew." "I'm not an idiot, Brooke." Her face twisted. Half guilt, half relief. She nodded. "Okay. Then I won't lie anymore." She told me it started 6 months ago. That it was emotional at first. That she didn't think I'd notice. That Chris made her feel seen. Seen. What a ridiculous word. Like I'd been blind all this time, standing right beside her while she vanished a little more each day. "I don't love him," she said quickly. "It was never about that." I looked at her like I was seeing a stranger in my wife's skin. "Then what was it about?" "I don't know," she whispered. "I just felt forgotten." I stood up. Calm. "You know what I felt?" I said, walking to the door. "I felt insulted." Her head snapped up. "What? You thought I wouldn't notice. You thought I'd keep smiling and carrying the groceries and fixing the leaking sink while you fed your ego on the side." She reached for me, but I stepped back. I loved you, I said. Past tense. Her hand dropped. I can fix this, she said, but even she didn't sound convinced. I shook my head. You already did. And I walked out. Brooke begged me not to leave that night. I didn't yell, didn't slam the door. I just packed a duffel bag with exactly 3 things: my passport, my laptop, and a copy of the marriage certificate, annotated, of course, with her affair dates in the margins. She followed me into the driveway barefoot, mascara streaked, still holding that damn wedding photo like it was going to grow arms and stop me. I'll go to therapy, she said. We can fix this, Logan. I paused at the driver's door. You're only sorry because you're caught. That's not true. But it was. And she knew it. I got in and started the car. She slapped the window. Don't walk out on us. I looked at her, just once. There hasn't been an us since room 412. Then I pulled away. I didn't go far. Rented a small Airbnb just outside the city. Quiet, undetectable, and perfect for what I had planned next. See, I'd already frozen our joint accounts the week prior. Not out of pettiness. Out of strategy. I'd rerouted my direct deposits into a new bank. Transferred the mortgage out of her name months earlier under the pretense of simplifying finances. Brooke didn't notice. She had her hands full with Chris. And speaking of Chris, well, it was time he got a personal visit. Chris lived in a sleek downtown apartment. One of those glass towers built to look like wealth, but echo like regret. I waited until dusk. Wore a ball cap. Walked in like I belonged. He opened his door before I knocked. Go figure. I tripped his hallway camera on purpose. Logan, Jesus, he muttered. I didn't expect. No, I cut him off. You didn't. That's kind of your thing. He tried to stand tall, but you could see it in his eyes. The man was wrecked. Pale. Eyes hollow. Like he'd been sleeping with one eye open and both ears tuned to guilt. I'm sorry, he said. I'm not here for an apology, I said. I'm here for your confession. He blinked. Write it down, I said, pulling a folded sheet of paper from my pocket. Everything. Dates. Places. The fact that you knowingly slept with your best friend's wife. Put it in writing. He hesitated. I raised my phone and hit record. Or I post the video of you kissing her in the hotel parking lot. The one with your license plate front and center. Chris folded faster than a lawn chair. By the time I walked out of his apartment, I had the letter, a digital signature, and a 30-second voice memo of him saying the words. I knowingly carried on an affair with Brooke Whitaker while she was married to Logan Whitaker. I returned home Sunday afternoon. Brooke was still there, barefoot, again, as if her guilt couldn't function in shoes. The place smelled like takeout and tears. A suitcase sat near the door. She jumped up as I entered. You're back. No, I said. I'm here to pack your things. She blinked. You're kicking me out. No, I'm asking you to leave. You still have a choice. You can go quietly or loudly. Either way, you're gone. Her lips trembled. You don't mean this. We can fix it. Chris wrote you a lovely goodbye letter. I interrupted, placing it on the kitchen island. Signed and dated. She picked it up with shaking hands, reading the first line aloud. To whom it may concern. She dropped it like it burned. You wouldn't. I already did, I said, handing her a printed copy of the divorce filing. Cited infidelity. With documentation. Her voice was barely a whisper. You blindsided me. No, I said. You ambushed me. I just fought back smarter. I left the room and came back with 2 things, a cardboard box and her cell phone, freshly reset to factory default. Your things are in here, I said, placing the box on the counter. Your digital life's in the cloud. But your credibility? That's gone. Brooke collapsed into a chair. Where do I even go? She muttered. Not my concern, I replied. You made your choices. Now you live with them. 1 month later, I sat across from Brooke in the courthouse. She looked smaller, like the air around her weighed more now. Her lawyer tried to fight for assets. Mine slid across a folder with bank records, the confession letter, and an affidavit from a private investigator. Her lawyer read for 2 minutes, turned to her, and said quietly, We'll settle. We didn't speak on the way out. Didn't need to. The damage was done. The house we built now belonged to memory, and even that was under demolition. A few days later, I got a message from an unknown number. I miss you. I made a mistake. I deleted it. Then I sent Chris a text. Congrats. She's all yours. No reply. He probably didn't need the reminder. I kept the letter though. Framed it. Not as a trophy, but as a warning. People say revenge doesn't heal. Maybe that's true. But mine? Mine walked with a calm smile, clean hands, and full custody of dignity. And that, my friend, heals just fine.